Hello, low ego action heroes. It's Debbie Levitt from Delta CX. I hope everybody's doing okay as okay can be. It's November 10th, 2020. I am opening all my windows and I'm getting ready for today's adventure of office hours. Ask me anything. Normally, I stay here for an hour and take your live questions. As always, this will be archived in the YouTube channel, so if you happen to miss an episode and you're a curious cat, you can always go to the Office Hours playlist and see what you missed. And I always write down all of the questions in the description, even though I do not have timestamps. I'm sorry, I am too busy a cat for that. I forgot to start up all of my pieces of equipment today. I got all caught up watching YouTube and fell into a time vacuum. And now I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I don't have any of my windows or screens up or anything. So let's boot some things up while we talk. Hi, Paul. Thanks for joining. I do have a bunch of questions to start with. So at least while I boot up all the windows, I can get some of those questions started. Pressing buttons. So let's start. I think I have 4 questions already. And of course, if you'd like to ask a question, they are free. And you can ask on YouTube in the chat. You can ask on LinkedIn, also in that chat. I'm monitoring both. And you can tweet at me, though I don't think anybody's done that yet. Opening windows. So let's jump in with the questions that I got. The first question that I got said, how to deal with stakeholders who don't care about data. Now, this is where I wish you guys would give me your email addresses so I can write back and go, well, what do you mean by that? What data do they care about and what data don't they care about? Do they care about metrics that we're making money? You know, sometimes that's a piece of data a stakeholder cares about when we can prove later that something we did or improved made money. Do you mean the data of research that you learned things about customers and this stakeholder doesn't care because they know better? I would have to say, no matter what somebody means by this question, chances are this is a job that we're probably not going to want to stay too long at. When we are working on projects with people who don't care about data, whether that data is the outcome of the project or the customer satisfaction or something else that we are trying to count or measure, or sorry, I was just testing if my panel was working. It is. If we are working with people who don't want to listen to good data, I'm not sure how long we're staying there because it's really important for there to be good data. It's important for us to be doing qualitative research, both generative and evaluative. It's important for us to have metrics and to measure everything against those. It's important for people to be accountable, and we're usually going to need data for that. So how do you deal with a stakeholder who doesn't care about data? I don't think you can change that person. Again, if you're live in the chat and you've got an idea here, you are welcome to chip in. But, you know, how do you deal with a stakeholder who doesn't care about data? I guess I would either find the piece of data they do care about, like, do they care about customers leaving us? Do they care about making money? Is there a piece of data they do care about? And if so, can we focus on that and maybe do some of our work and measure that? Or is there really nothing this person cares about other their own opinion and ego and narcissism and whatever? I don't know why companies hire and keep high ego jerks, but this may just be a place you don't stay at very long. And if you do quit, I hope you will tell HR why, because they need to know. They need to know that you are leaving because you have a manager or stakeholder who does not care about the customer. And the whole point of your job is to build stuff that will satisfy the customer. And if nobody cares, then, you know, what's the point? Let's go work somewhere where somebody cares, maybe a competitor. I'm sorry if that's not exactly the answer you were looking for, but without an email address to write you back and say, what do you mean by that? That's the downside to these anonymous questions is, what do you mean by that? I I can't ask you. Here's the next question I got anonymously over the past week. Hey, Debbie, is there a UX scene over there in Italy? Are there companies over there hiring UX practitioners, or is UX maturity in general still fairly low? Now, I can tell from the way that question is asked, the way they say, is it still fairly low, that they have knowledge about Italy and the UX scene here. And I would have to say I'm a little bit on the outskirts of the UX scene, only because I don't always show up somewhere and take traditional jobs. I have my own agency, Delta CX. A lot of people are interested, at least, and some hire us for project work and consulting and research and design and things like that. So I'm not necessarily moving somewhere and relying on the local job market. However, from what I've learned in my time here so far is that there are a couple of cities where UX is happening. That seems to mostly be Milan right now. I don't live anywhere near Milan, but it looks like that's where some of the jobs are. Once in a while, I see a job in Rome, but very often these are for companies or agencies that are known internationally and just happen to have a Rome office. So outside of that, I'm not seeing a lot of UX action in Italy. Based on where I see UX conferences popping up and things like that, I think there's a lot more UX-centric cities like London, Oslo, Vienna, maybe Stockholm to some extent. What else? What was another city with a lot of UX happening? Copenhagen? Hi, Anurag. I'm glad you're here. Your question will be next. Those seem to be cities where there's a lot more UX happening, but I'm not trying to move to where the UX is happening. I'm just trying to live where I want to live and hopefully keep being able to do what I'd like to do and do it remotely. So that is my update on the state of UX in Italy. I might not be the best person to ask, but there seem to be some pockets of it, but it's still, not a strong technology country in my opinion. That doesn't mean they're bad at technology, but I don't think they're quite the same as a Vienna, Berlin, London, Oslo, Stockholm. That's one woman's opinion. You may disagree. Then we got a nice long question from Anurag in our Slack channel, which of course everybody's always welcome to join the Slack channel. It is totally free. There is no membership fee, and you can have conversations with other peeps and have access to me. And it was such a great question. I wanted to answer it here in case it helps other people. So let's do it. The question says, and it's a little bit long. I'm going to read it and then I'm going to work through it. Question on research for personal mock projects to put in my portfolio for UX designer roles. What research methods, apart from surveys, interviews, and research papers, can help improve the quality of research for mock projects to put in my portfolio? So far, I've been doing surveys, about 50 people. I know it's a super small fraction of what happens in real scenarios. Also, I've been doing user interviews, 5 to 8 people. I read some psychology research papers that address topics related to the project and some stuff from Nielsen Norman Group. Using all these things, I try to draw insights as to what will work for that project, stating that there are some assumptions that I will not be able to account for without more research data. Is there anything else I should be doing or can be doing to improve this? Super question. Love this stuff. So sounds like someone who is newer to the UX universe and trying to prepare a good portfolio to try to get that first job. And so first of all, I would say, and again, this is my opinion. There are people who see this differently, so go collect opinions. But first of all, I'm usually not impressed by surveys. Surveys are very much a marketing tool, or I might use them for recruiting for a research survey, but I generally don't try to decide anything based on a survey. Let me just mute my speakers here. Don't want to get any feedback. There we go. I try not to decide anything on a survey, or I try not to assume there are too many insights from a survey, because surveys, no matter how well you write them, are nearly always flawed. So I usually don't look for whether or not people ran a survey, and if they did run the survey, if their portfolio shows that they tried to draw too many conclusions from the survey, that's sometimes a bit of a turn off for me. I want to see you drawing conclusions from the interviews you did, not so much the survey surveys you did. So that's one thing there. To address the other question is, so if your survey is only 50 people, I kind of don't care, because I kind of don't care about surveys. I'm probably going to mostly skim that part of your project, or I'm going to read it to make sure you didn't put too much weight on what you think you learned from it. Because like I see these things, I saw one today where it's like, and then we asked people, on a scale of 1 to 5, how interested they would be in having an app that does this. Oh, wow, look at all these people who are interested in an app. No, they're not. Many of them answer that just to be nice. So I don't want to see people drawing these types of conclusions when we just don't know. Next part of that question, I've been doing user interviews 5 to 8 people. That's okay. That's close. I tend to tell people try to get at least 8, more like 8 to 12 of each type of customer. So I think if you can get to 8 or around there, I think that's respectable. And I think that would be enough where I would feel like, okay, you're starting to see patterns and you're going to put your detective hat on and you're going to see some of the, well, what's the other word other than patterns? Themes. And hopefully you are finding the insights that take a little bit of digging and a little bit of deductive reasoning and logic. And that's what I'll want to see in that case study. I don't want to see, I interviewed 8 people and then I learned this. I want to make sure I know how you got there and not just see sticky notes on walls, but hear a little bit more about that process to know that you're good at this or you can do it. You read some psychology research papers that are related. This is what we would call secondary research. Whenever you're not dealing with customers directly, which is primary research, then you've got secondary research. That's going to be things like Googling about this or reading tweets or reading research papers. And I think there's a place for secondary research. And I think if you can show that you can find the right things out there in the Googleverse and draw some interesting questions or insights from that, that's good too. And then you say, using all these things, I will draw insights on what to work on for your project. You can certainly do that. You can create a research report that says, based on talking to people, a little bit of information from a survey, but mostly not, and a couple of things I picked up from some things out on the Googleverse. Here's the direction I'm going to go with this project. And of course, you just want to make sure that you can sustain it. But if there's something in those things that make it sound like people don't really need this, I have seen portfolio case studies where people were like, I'm going to build this thing. And then I did research and asked people if they liked it. And it turns out nobody liked it. But I like the idea and I'm going to do it anyway. And then I'm like, oh, no. I want to hire the person who says, oops, I had this idea. I did this research. My idea stinks. Let's do something different. So don't be afraid in your portfolio project to call out places where there's room for improvement or where maybe this isn't a match to people. I'd rather see the reality of your project than see somebody manipulating a story to try to make it look like they were right. That is not going to make you a low ego action hero. That's going to make you a little bit of a need to be right, high ego person. So let me know if you have follow-up questions to that, since I know you're here today, and thank you for joining. Let me see. No other questions yet. Let's see. Yes, I've got one more question that came in anonymously today, but this is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. And you can ask a question in the YouTube chat, in the LinkedIn chat, through Twitter with hashtag DeltaCX. My system will catch that. Or of course, if you want it to be anonymous, deltacx.link/AMA. If you Slack me something right now, I might not see it because I'm broadcasting, but I am checking my email for the anonymous questions that come in through deltacx.link/AMA, which is a 1-question survey. If you want me to know who you are, please include your email. But otherwise, I don't know who you are. So thank you for all of your questions. Here's the other question that came in anonymously today. How to present our design decisions and get buy-in from stakeholders? Well, that's really 2 separate questions. How do we present our design decisions and get buy-in from stakeholders? I think the main thing that I hear in that question, when I keep saying it out loud, is it's still a giant shame that we can make design decisions and then be overruled by somebody who doesn't understand these things as well as we do. I don't think that happens as much in other domains. I don't think software architects make engineering decisions and then someone not in engineering comes in and says, no, you know what I like better for the software architecture? This. So I still think it's a shame, and I still think companies need to take a long look at themselves as to why they do this. But we shouldn't have to get buy-in from stakeholders. Stakeholders should have trust and respect for us, and stakeholders should understand that if they've given us the time to do good work, then they have to trust our decisions. The stakeholders trust everybody else's decisions, right? They're trusting what the product manager is doing with the roadmap and prioritization and feature decisions. They're trusting the engineering team, right? They're not double checking their code or wanting to QA it themselves. There's just something about CX and UX that seem to make everybody think, I'm better at this than anybody else. It's really sad and terrible, and it's part of what brings the quality of our products down. And it's lowering customer satisfaction, yet somehow people are not noticing. We're eventually going to hit that critical mass where people are going to go, oh wow, I guess we have to say out loud and admit that customers are unhappy. What the heck's going on here? So when it comes to presenting design decisions, I would present them confidently, and I would present them as the design decision and the way to go. Larry Marine's here, and of course he's quoting Steve Jobs. And as I like to say, if you're gonna, you don't get to quote Steve Jobs and then not follow this quote. So many people love this quote and they post it and they meme it, and then they don't freaking do it. And of course that quote is something along the lines of, we hire good people and then stay out of their way. That would be great. I love the sound of that. So how do we present our design decisions? With confidence, in ways that make sense to the people we're presenting to, whether they prefer bite-sized information or PowerPoints or longer prosaic Word files. I do tend to adjust my design or research deliverables based on what people need. So for design, I'm usually submitting prototypes, but your decisions might also be based on usability testing and showing what worked and what didn't work for customers. So these are typical ways that I would present my design decisions, by showing the design or aspects of it, and showing the usability testing to back up why this is the best execution of the best idea at this time. And I always try to stress both of those things, that it's not just the idea it's not just the idea. Ideas have executions. I learned this from a book a long time ago. So, the way I explain that to people is, think about theme parks, if you're familiar with like SeaWorld and Disneyland and Six Flags and things like that. These all have similar ideas. We're going to make a theme park. It's going to have rides. There will be characters. There will be food. There will be souvenirs. But they've all executed on that differently. They're all different executions, outcomes, manifestations of this idea. So that's why I try to explain to people that the decisions that we make are not just what's a great concept, but the right execution of the right idea, and hopefully you're demonstrating that with testing to back up that this is something that will solve users' problems. You're going to want to tie it back to other research and personas and data that you have, especially tie it back to task analysis. Say, and this is how we know that this will help the customer perform their task logically, intuitively, meaningfully, easily, time saved, more money spent, whatever it is. And then as for get buy-in from stakeholders, again, I wish we didn't live in that world. I don't have a magic wand to tell you how to get buy-in from stakeholders, because I don't know if they're easily convinced by good work or if they're ego heads who pick what they like no matter what you've done. And I wish we didn't have to get buy-in from stakeholders, because nobody else on our team and appears to need that. Anurag says, thank you for the detailed answer. I appreciate it. I wanted to know if there are other methods of research apart from surveys, interviews, and secondary research. Let's put that follow-up question up. And I see something coming in anonymously, so give me a minute. We've got 3 in the chat room and something coming in anonymously, so we're really cooking now. Surveys, interviews, and secondary research. So technically there are, but I don't know how much of these you're going to do, especially in the pandemic. So you've got your primary research, which is where you're researching the customers or potential customers more directly. Very often I'm doing interviews and sometimes observational studies, but you can Google this. Again, I don't want to burn too much time because this is very Googleable. There's lots of different ways to do primary research. You'll see generative and evaluative. So generative, just to be short, is more about learning stuff and learning what we don't know and investigating. And evaluative is more like, we have something we want to test on these people and see if this is the right concept or direction or execution. Your gaming, hey Glitch, in your gaming account. I have the same problem. I have a personal YouTube and I have a Delta CX YouTube, and I sometimes show up in the wrong one. So what else could you do? You could try to do an observational study. Now, don't forget, on Monday, we'll have Larry Marine live on the podcast, and he's given everybody homework. You'll have to check LinkedIn for that. I'll also paste it to Slack. But he's giving everybody homework about observational research. And so again, if you can go places and observe people or find a way to observe them remotely, like on a Zoom call, if you are good with putting on that detective hat, and I don't have a detective hat, the closest I can come is the I look smart hat. So that's going to have to be my, green screen. It's going to have to be my detective hat until I get one. But we have to put on our detective hats and watch people do things and kind of figure out what they're doing or where they've created a workaround or where there's aspects of their task that even they don't notice. And so that kind of research is great to do, but again, not always easy in a pandemic, because in general you'd want to be on site with someone, and sometimes we have to do the Zoom thing, and depending upon what this is, Zoom might not work. But I would say Google for more ways to do this. That's mostly what I'm a fan of. I usually don't do things like diary studies where you ask people to write down what they do, because again, you're going to learn so much more by watching people do things than by asking them to write down what they do, because people don't always, they're not even always mindful of what they do. They could miss tasks and steps and workarounds. So that is the medium-sized answer there. Let's take a look at Ralitsa's question. Okay, Ralitsa says, hey Debbie, let's put it up. Boop, bop. Hey Debbie, what would you say is the difference between strategic research and research overall? I'm kind of fuzzy on that topic. I'd love some insights. Larry, are you still here? Is there a difference between strategic research and research? I'm not sure if you mean, do you mean research strategy, like what people are calling research ops, like how we're going to approach research strategically, either as a department or a team or a project? Or do you just mean, do you know what you mean? Larry, can you guess what she means? I'm not too sure. Let's come back to that one. And let's go over to Glitch's question, and we will have to come back to Ralitsa's question. Larry says, think pro flowers, but is that what she means? Ralitsa, can you just clear up what you mean by strategic research? Because I know what answer Larry's cueing me to give, but I want to just double check that I'm answering the right question. Let's sneak over to what Glitch from his or her gaming account sent us, which is, I am given a design exercise to design multiple screens of an app as part of my interview. The project brief was make a food delivery app and nothing else. How do I meet their expectation? So also in the chat, we had Paul say, run away. And we had Larry say, agree with Paul. And I'm going to have to go with both of them. As some of you know, I am not for doing challenges as part of interviews. If they cannot tell what you're able to do from your portfolio and from interviewing you, then what is the challenge going to tell them? At best, it's going to tell them how you guess at something given a few hours or a few days, but it's certainly not going to speak to the arc and spectrum of your user-centered design process end to end. It's going to be, here's how I guess at stuff in a short amount of time. So I have found that in cases like that, you will never meet their expectations. And the reason is because they didn't tell you their expectations. You probably don't even know what to shoot for. You probably don't even know how you're going to be judged. You might not even know how many screens you're supposed to make. You might not know how deep you're supposed to go. And if this is a company that makes apps or makes food delivery apps, definitely don't do it, because this is them trying to get free ideas, pretending that there is a job. Sometimes there is no job, and it's very sad. So I would say decline this one. I know everybody wants a job and needs a job, and it's a bad time to say no to jobs. But I think that this is an example of run away. I just keep looking at your question and I can't find anything good going on here. And I think you're going to work very hard to be told no thank you. And if this is an app company or a food app delivery company, they now have your ideas for free. Okay, we've got more questions coming in anonymously. So while we wait for Ralitza to give us more color around her question, I will keep pasting in stuff. So we got a long question and a short question. Long question, you gave your name, so even though it says anonymous, I'm going to say it. I hope that's okay. Okay, Ralitza is going to the UX conference from Tech Circus, where I'll be speaking Thursday, so hope everybody will join that. She says, I just attended a panel which was about strategic product research, and hearing the answers, I couldn't tell the difference. It's not the first time I hear this distinction. I wanted to hear more. Again, I wasn't there, so I'm not totally sure what they mean, but I'm just going to have a stab at it, and if Larry's still here, he can sing back up on this one and help me out. So when I think of strategic research, I don't know, again, what they meant, but I typically think of a strategic approach to research. It's not like the research is particularly different. It's more strategically, how did we approach the research? How did we plan it? What were we looking to learn? So if they're talking about strategic product research, it might be the type of thing, and if we're going to use Larry's ProFlowers example, Larry has a story about how he was working for ProFlowers in the mid-1990s, where websites where you could order flowers were fairly new, and they mostly assumed that you knew what flowers you wanted, and you were going to come on and say 6 tulips and 6 lilies. But when they hired Larry to look more into this, and he went and did observational research, as I was just talking about, and he went and watched people in florists' shops, he noticed people in general didn't know what types of flowers they wanted, because they really don't know what flowers are correct for the occasion or reason. People just knew why they were buying flowers, for whom, and sometimes what that person's favorite color was. So what that led to was a realization that if we want to improve shopping for flowers online, we have to take out of it the assumption that people know exactly which flowers they want, and we have to make people shop by occasion, like the reason they're buying the flowers, instead of pick some flowers. That's why now you can go to many websites, especially flowers, and shop for a reason. You know, like, why are you buying this gift? Who's it for? And as far as I can tell, Larry invented that. But that required everybody to take a strategic look at this. So it wasn't just like, hey, Larry, can you make ordering flowers on our website a little bit easier? That's not too strategic. That's going to be an incremental change. And that doesn't sound like someone's ready to really blast this into outer space and really take a fresh look at the strategy of approaching this. So I would have to say that if I'm getting Larry's cue correctly, I would imagine that someone talking about strategic product research, though I wasn't there, would be about taking a strategic approach to looking at what product we could or should build and the approach that it should take, and that overall strategy. Because again, the strategy was, wait a minute, don't make people shop by flower, make them shop by occasion, reason, or recipient. That's going to match their mental models more. That's going to match their habits, their tasks, the way they do this now in real 3D life in florist shops. Does that make any sense? And Larry's adding to this. So thank you, Larry, for saving the day. Strategic research attempts to focus on trying to identify an overarching strategy that guides the product design efforts. Pro Flowers doesn't sell flowers, they sell occasions. Put that in the book. And then Larry added to that by saying, general research would be done to identify details about the domain in support of that strategy. Ralica, not that different from the research I'm working on now, which you know a little bit about because we have a confidentiality agreement. So, and Larry says, and what Debbie said. So it sounds like I got some of that right, and Larry came in and hit the home run, as we say. Hope that helps. And also, please remember to usability test the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, please press the like button so that you can tell the algorithm you like videos like this and you'd like to see more, or suggest it to people YouTube imagines are like you. And then also remember, let's press all the right buttons today, that there's still time to sign up for my big Acture workshop that's going to be on December 3rd and 4th. You're also going to get my Acture core skills videos with the core skills workshop. This is designed to take you from, oh my gosh, Acture is so scary, to a comfortable intermediate prototyper. It is only $60, 60, and that's American dollars. So please visit deltacx.link/DEC2020, like December 2020, and sign up now. I think we have 18 people coming so far, so I would love to have 200, but whatever number comes is what we're doing, and it's going to be a 2-day workshop. And whether or not you can make the live work along with me workshop, you will still get the video courses. So a couple of plugs there. Okay, we've got more questions coming in. Let's take a look. What's the best way of presenting our research findings to non-designers? Pretty similar answer to what I gave before. I would have to say that in general, I do sometimes fine-tune some of my research deliverables to who's going to see them. So is this the type of person who prefers a short PowerPoint presentation? Is this the type of person who prefers a long Word document with all of the details? Is this the type of person who would like a prioritized spreadsheet of issues? What about video clips? What about quotes? What about a couple of quick wireframes or prototypes of not necessarily what I think is the solution, but just to illustrate a couple of ideas of either where things are broken or where there's some opportunity for key improvement? There's a lot of different ways to present research findings to non-designers. I find in general, most non-designers, not all, but most are looking for high-level, darn bugs, gotta get my fly swatter, high-level, top line stuff. They don't want the 35-page report. They might not even want the 35-slide PowerPoint. So you've got to, we talk about have empathy. If you want to have empathy for your coworkers and go ask them, hey, we're doing this amazing research right now. We're learning so much about how our customers buy from us, shop with us, get items on our site, choose us over competitors, whatever it is. Hey, we're learning so much about this. What's the best way to show you that, and how long a meeting do you think you'd want to have? There's your answer. Because I can't tell you there's only one way to present your research findings or articulate design decisions. I am a play to my audience person, and maybe that's just me as a musician. I want to play to my audience, but I think that just tends to go the farthest, to be able to say, aha, these are the people who love the weeds and the details. They'll get this presentation. These are the people who really just want the high level, as Larry would say, the executive summary. Like, give me the summary, give me the 10 things you found, I'll deal with the rest later. So I would say connect with different teammates and learn what they're looking for from you. Do separate presentations if you have to, because it's more important for people, in my opinion, it's more important for people to get information the way they can best digest it than for me to say F you to some people and just do one presentation and now these people didn't get what they needed from that. We are so often struggling to prove the value of research, and I think one way we can do that is by presenting findings in the way different people want to, and just make sure they know they have options. Hey, we've got video clips and quotes and spreadsheets and matrices and whatever you're doing. So there you go. Okay, now we've got a longer question, and it says, sorry for the long-winded question. No, long-winded questions are welcome. We still have 25 minutes here, and let's see, are there any other questions waiting? No. So everybody keep your questions coming, because this is the last one I've got right now. And it's, I'm sorry, I forget how to pronounce your name. It's Raj. I have a question about representing myself in a summary on my resume. I'm looking for work as a UX writer, and I have 10 years of experience as a science journalist. Oh yeah, how are you? And copy editor. I know it's not the same thing, but there is substantial overlap, as I've had to write short form for headlines, become a subject matter expert, and learn the lingo of various domains and disciplines quickly, interview hundreds of people, follow and contribute to various style guides, and write about highly technical subjects for both professional and lay audiences, and for a wide variety of different publications with different voices. Well, that one for longest sentence, not in Italian. I'm tempted, so he continues, I'm tempted to say something like UX writer with 10 years of professional writing and editing experience. But of course, I don't want to represent myself as having 10 years of writing experience when that isn't the case. What are your thoughts on this? Good question. I agree that could accidentally come off as UX writer with 10 years of writing and editing experience. Maybe if you turned it around, it could be a little bit more honest or clear. Professional writer and editor with 10 years of experience transitioning into UX writing. Shifting into UX writing. Maybe you're a better writer than I am at this. Anybody? Can you think of a good headline for our friend here, our friend of the show, our Slack buddy? I also did recently ask a friend who is a UX writing manager, and she said that she feels that a lot of people coming from other writing and editing experience should be able to express that in their resume and portfolio, and that experience does translate. You won't necessarily have to show UX writing. You would be able to show other writing and editing, and that she would totally buy that and consider you for a UX writing job. So I think having a punchy headline is going to be good, but I also think that you can definitely focus more on the experience that you have. Larry says, blossoming UX writer with 10 years professional writing experience. I think blossoming is a little too cuddly for me, but you know, that's just my opinion. But I don't know. What if it just said, over 10 years of professional writing and editing experience? Or what if it said, over 10 years of professional writing, editing, and investigative journalism? Like I'm trying to get more keywords in there than just UX. Like because your writing experience is so deep and broad, it should translate pretty well into UX. What if we said more about that rather than trying to make it sound UX-y? That's my guess. I can't speak for what's going to be most powerful. I would say keep playing with it. Maybe throw it around on the Slack channel and see what other people think. Larry says, evolving UX writer. Sounds like he's a Pokemon. Just reading your question again. Now I don't even remember what I said. I'm so sleepy. Over 10 years of professional writing, editing, and investigative journalism experience. Larry says, lead with the objective, not the past. Okay, let's talk about what Larry says. Hold on. Lead with the objective. But I see his problem. You don't want to say you're a UX writer because then someone says, show me your UX writing experience. And you're like, ooh. Yeah, that's why, Larry's saying transitioning into UX writing. I think I had said that before as well. So maybe transitioning into UX writing, semicolon, or dash, over 10 years of professional writing, editing, and investigative journalism. I don't know. It's a hard one. I would say let's brainstorm it in Slack or something like that, and we'll keep playing with it. But I feel like we're getting closer. Closer, but not quite there. It's a process, everybody. I worked on my headline a while too, but now I get compliments on it, so I must have it right, at least for some people. Also, while I was answering that question, Larry was throwing some other things out there, so let's put them up on the screen just so we can make sure we've said everything he's written out loud. He said, when describing a design, always set the context. Start with the user's objectives, their task flow, and then how the design supports those. And then he said, whoa, I'm hitting the wrong buttons. When people contribute ideas for the design, ask how the idea relates to the objective or task flow. So yeah, that's, Ralitza, that can probably work for you, because Ralitza says, let's put hers up. She said, former Scrum Master aiming to transition into UX research. So the format would be former role, then experience, then X year's experience. So, right, you would say transitioning into UX research from 15 years of agile coaching, Scrum mastering, or whatever is the gerund of that. And but you had something else on your resume. It was like business process planning or something else. And I liked that you had that because it spoke to some of your analytical nature. I'm speaking specifically to Ralitza because I know her and I've seen her resume. I don't just guess that about people. And I'm not psychic. So you had something on there, but it was older. It was like on page 2, but it was something that I think can speak to your analytical nature, and I think that's going to be good for you in research. This is still office hours, Ask Me Anything, and I'm still here for another 15 minutes. A little bit low in my chair today. Should be higher up. I could stand on my chair, but that would be silly. So as usual, won't you please subscribe and empathize with the like button. And please remember that over on YouTube, we have hundreds of hours of content that you can certainly watch at 1.5x or 2x, split into a whole bunch of playlists. One of our most popular playlists is the Learning UX and Career Transition playlist. So that's a great one for a lot of the people who tend to join in our adventures here. While we wait for our next questions, let me just read you some of the things that are coming up on the channel. I did not plan too many podcasts coming up because I was not sure what the mood of the world would be, given the pandemic and the American election. Pandemic still sad. American election seems to have turned out okay for now. So let's talk about what's coming up. I'm speaking at a lot of conferences this week, so there's nothing else cooking this week. Monday, hey, it's my podcast with Larry. Everybody start doing your homework. I will have to find Larry's instructions. I'll paste them in the Slack channel. I'll put it in the live events channel. So hashtag live events in our Slack channel. Let me put that back up. Everybody's welcome to join our Slack channel. It is absolutely free. There's no membership. There's no there's no nothing other than the rules of being mutually respectful and nice. deltacx.link/join Slack. All one word. So Monday, Larry and I are going to be talking about observational research, and he's given you a little bit of homework. So I will post that to the Slack channel. Someone remind me. Tuesday the 17th is Office Hours Ask Me Anything, but we're going to have a special guest. I'm going to do a few Office Hours Ask Me Anythings with special guests who will also take your questions live. Tuesday the 17th will be our good friend Joel Barr. If, of course, he's able to make it. I know he's got somebody in his household I think has COVID, so if everything works out, he'll be with us, hopefully, fingers crossed. That's next Tuesday, a week from today. Wednesday the 18th, we're going to have good friend of the show, Lee Andres, on, and she's from Akathame, and we're going to talk about job titles and levels, and why those can be important and why we don't want to fudge them. She is an expert on this stuff. She worked at Aquint for like 20 or more years. She knows this stuff. Thursday the 19th, I'm going to do a live podcast with the same presentation that I'm doing at 2 conferences this week, so that if you miss it at either of these conferences, you'll be able to see it here on the channel. It is called, oh my God, what is my thing called? I've been writing this new thing, and now I don't even remember what it's called, and I've been writing it for like hours every day. It is called Using CX and UX Strategy to Reinvent the Customer Experience. So I'll be doing that on the 19th, especially so we can get it in the library, in the YouTube channel, because it's really written a little bit more for our managers and leaders and executives. But I want everybody to hear it, because if you like it, then you can show it to your managers, leaders, and executives. So there you go. Then what do you know? We run straight into Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving. So I tend to work through holidays. So Tuesday the 14th, which is 2 days before American Thanksgiving, I'll of course do Office Hours Ask Me Anything, but we've got special guests. Both Tuesday the 24th and the following Tuesday, December 1st, our special guests for Office Hours Ask Me Anything will be Dr. Nick Fine and Darren Hood. Both are coming to both. So if you would like to throw random questions at them, we are here to answer them. I think I don't really have too much else planned. I was afraid to book too much because I didn't know what people's moods would be. So we'll have to plan some more. But at the same time, I also know people get very distracted towards the end of the year with holidays and other things. So maybe we'll just keep doing the office hours at the very least, and certainly pick back up on the podcasts in January. I invited some people and they said, ooh, the rest of the year is really a mess for me. So we may not have too many podcasts, but stay tuned to Office Hours. I am here another 12 minutes, so if you have any questions, please let me know. I am here to answer them and help in any way that I can. And stay hydrated. While everybody thinks of questions, I'm going to find Larry's homework. And I am going to look for that, if I can find it, and post it to the Slack channel. Posts. LinkedIn does not make it easy to find your former posts. Have you noticed that? Things you've written before, good luck finding them. Where is it? I think we posted it last week. Larry, here he is. All right, let's copy and paste this. Copy link to post. Very good. Let's drop it in the YouTube channel quickly. Oh, I can't post to YouTube today. That is sad. Larry says, arrow, arrow, arrow. Yeah, except YouTube sometimes strips out links because they assume that you are like on my channel to cause mayhem. Let's post it. I'll post it on LinkedIn. Post. We've got 3 people watching live on LinkedIn, and I'll go over to the YouTube and see if I can post it. Because because usually it strips out other people posting links on the assumption that you're a spammer. Yeah, it stripped it out, Larry. It assumes you're a spammer. Let's see if I can post it. Okay. And let's also get it in the Slack channel, in the live events channel for next Monday's podcast with Larry Marine. You have homework. There you go. You will find that in the live events channel in the Delta CX Slack. Where we now have over 330 people. So it's still a quiet community, but it's good peeps with good questions, and that makes me happy. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, YouTube might be stripping it out. I'll make sure it's in the description for those of you looking for that. Let's see. Larry and Debbie podcast homework. Paste. All right. Any other questions today? Anything I can help anybody with? All questions welcome. Did I miss anything? Is it sleepy time yet? Whew. Also, quick plug, at the bottom of the deltacx.com website, in the footer, is a link to join our mailing list. You will see that there's now an interest you can check off on the mailing list subscription called Colloquio. Colloquio is still in stealth mode, but it is the secret apprentice project that I've been working on. It is going to be a real UX tool. So if you are curious about my apprentice program, if you are curious about the UX tool, please go over and subscribe to the mailing list. I'm not going to post anything yet. I'm hoping we'll have more news in Q1 of next year, but I'm starting to put some whispers out there now so that we can see who's interested in learning more about the apprenticeship program as well as the future UX tool. There's Oh, Larry, he's throwing me the softballs. It says, can I refresh this page? I'm having a little issue here. Let's try. Larry says, can you talk about why market research is not UX research? I'm going to have to type that because I can't copy paste. Can you talk about why market research is not UX research? Yes, I can, and so can you. So basically, so market research and UX and CX research are very often not the same thing. They often have completely different goals and approaches. Marketing is typically what can we sell to people, or surveys, and UX research is typically who are these people? What do they need? What can we learn about them? What are they trying to do? How are they doing it? And we end up giving names to that, things like personas and task analysis and things like that. And one of the problems you bump into when either marketing research and UX research collide, or when somebody from marketing research tries to transition into UX research without having studied the differences, is you sometimes get people who are trying to use marketing's tools in a UX context. So for example, one example that I've seen is A/B testing. And I see this a lot. Marketing tends to love A/B testing because they're all about which one's performing better. Let's use the one that's performing better. We'll do A versus B. A was better, forget B. But here's the problem. We don't know what was wrong with B. We don't know if it was close. We don't know what we could have fixed about it. This is a quantitative approach and not a qualitative approach. So we don't know what's wrong with B. And we also very often, in a marketing world, we haven't done anything in the user-centered design spectrum related to B. Did a whole CX or UX team work on B and make sure that B was likely to be better for customers, so that now we're just kind of double checking this or getting metrics on want. How much better is it? If we're just throwing ideas out there and just A/B testing, oh, new idea, A/B test it. It's not fair to do that to customers. It's not fair to turn them into lab rats and show them things and then take it away a week later and put them in and out of these different experiments. It really isn't the right way to go, and it's certainly not good evaluative research. So I see a lot of people trying to use marketing research techniques. If they do interviews or primary research, very often they're leading people. They're asking leading questions. Do you like this? Would you like this? Would you want an app that did this? Would you want this? I see them coming to very different conclusions than we would come to with some of the same information. And I can't say anything specific only because of confidentiality on projects, but I've seen that as well. So ultimately, I feel like a lot of market research is, will people buy this, or can we convince them to buy this, or are they likely to buy this, or are they loyal, or is A better or B better? And my thought was like, well, wait a minute, is B even a good idea? Is B the right execution of the right idea? Did we go through the right process to learn what the real problems are? Problem finding, problem solving, then the concepts, and then the executions. Did we test all of that? Did we iterate on it? Did we improve it? What is the B? So I don't think we should just willy-nilly A/B test stuff. Larry, what did I miss and forget? I'm getting sleepy. Oz is here. He says, hallelujah, the public is not lab rats. Yeah, I mean, UX, we have our own processes and we do testing with people, but we do testing with people, 5 people at a time, and we do it privately, and we explain to them that this is the demo model, this is the prototype, and you're not stuck using this version while we experiment on you. So that's usually not my first choice, is to put out public experiments, and especially multiple experiments at the same time, because then you just look like you are guessing and you have no idea what to build or what customers want. And Larry says, if the original design, the A of your A/B test, didn't solve the right problem in the first place, then A/B testing will only end up putting lipstick on the pig. Yeah, certainly. I mean, and then in that case, you're comparing unknown stabby guess to thing that isn't totally working that we need to change. So this sounds like not a fantastic approach either. I'm trying to get my messaging system to work again, but it's being grumpy. So I'll do my best to watch all of the windows. Is it working? Is it working? No, it's being grumpy. I will try to watch it. Larry says, if you don't accurately, that means I'm not seeing LinkedIn messages. Uh-oh, let me open up another window. If you don't accurately define the problem, the best you can hope to do is solve the wrong problem very well. Famous Larry Marine quote. He often says that one, and he's right. We've got a new anonymous question. Let's take a look. Okay, here it is. Could you explain, please, how UX designers can contribute to job positions of CX customer experience at a customer relationship management level? Depends what you mean by that. Very often I see CX jobs that say customer relationship manager, and they're not really CX jobs the way I think of CX, because I think of CX as being somewhat interchangeable with UX and just kind of a better term for it. When I see customer relationship management, those are usually customer support workers. So is the question, how can we contribute to customer support workers' jobs? Because we can. There's a lot of ways we can work with those people. We can partner with those people to get some of the data and information that they have, because they're working directly with customers. They hear complaints, they see the patterns, they hear about the pain points. I'm not sure if this is the way you meant the question. So if this person can maybe give me a follow-up, I'm worried I'm going in the wrong direction. But other ways that we can connect with support, again, is to get that kind of secondary, almost primary look at what people are struggling with, and maybe what kinds of priorities these problems have, or how severe or prominent these are, or prevalent these are. Other ways to contribute to customer relationship management and support. I like to try to remind managers that the better job we can do creating that customer experience and user experience, the less crap that customer relationship managers and support people are going to have to deal with, because we're making their jobs harder when we release junk and garbage and rushed out products. This is all making their jobs harder. So there's a lot of ways that we can contribute to job positions of CX customer experience at customer relationship management level. I have to admit, I don't totally understand this question, and so I'd like you to please give me more detail, and I feel like I've probably answered it totally wrong. And we're out of time, so hurry up and give me a follow-up so that I can turn these apples into applesauce. Crackle, crackle. Stay hydrated, people. No one will be admitted during the water drinking scene. We could always start with this question next week, but I would hate to make you wait a week. Somebody say that 10 times fast. I'd hate to make you wait a week for your answer. So hopefully you can whip up a quick follow-up question and help me clear up exactly what you mean and which aspect of this you mean. So sorry that I wasn't clear, but this is the downside to the anonymous questions, is sometimes I don't know what you mean and I can't write you back. And LinkedIn looks like it's crapping out a little bit, but there's still 2 people there. Thank you, 2 people, for hanging on. 3. Doesn't tell me who you are, but thank you for hanging on. And Oz says, I just showed up. You're leaving already? Oz, I start the same time every week. You just showed up. You're late. So I always start 6:30 Italian time, which is an hour ago, which is what, -9 for you, Oz? Is that 9:30 in the morning? Yeah. I don't want to make you wake up early for this, Oz. You know, it's, you can watch the archives, but if you want to be involved live, you got to wake up early. Sorry. Something's come into the email. Yes, it's exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so let me try and go back and add to that. So if the question is, how do we work better with customer support? I do like to work with customer support, and I like to talk to them once in a while and say, what are you hearing? What are the problems? Now, when I worked at Macy's a few years ago, and you've certainly heard me tell yucky stories about that, there was a team, and all that team did was this kind of secondary-ish, almost primary gathering. So like, you know, what's the vibe on social media about Macy's? What are people tweeting? What do our support tickets say? And we would get these huge spreadsheets sent to us, and they hadn't really done any analysis of this, but they did collect it for us on the UX team. And then we'd get these, and we would start to read through them, and we would start to try to figure out what are some projects or features or fixes that we need to spin up based on what is bogging down customer support or seems to be a priority issue. And, Oz says I was being interviewed on another podcast. Good excuse. I accept. So, for example, I remember one time I was reading one of those spreadsheets at Macy's, and it was like, customer called up to pay her Macy's credit card. Customer called up to pay Macy's credit card. Customer called because they couldn't pay the Macy's credit card from the app. And finally, I turned to someone and I was like, can you pay the your Macy's credit card bill from our app? No. Why not? We never finished building it. Build it. So I think one of the greatest ways that we can combine with customer support is to talk to them about what some of the most prevalent issues are, and even to say to them, what are the calls that waste your time the most that you think people should be able to do themselves? You know, and that might be, oh man, they should be able to change their own phone number in the system, or they should be able to pay this bill, or they should be able to boop, 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 or you know what, there's something that's broken. And because it's broken, they keep calling me and I have to work around it or tell them the workaround. You can learn a lot. Yes, it's better to do primary research with customers, but I love talking to customer support because they know all this. And you can say to them, who's having what kind of problems? Tell me. I remember one of my jobs, I flew out to their customer support center and I sat in for a day listening to calls. And it was a very good customer support team. And I remember one guy who called up, he had to be high on Coke or something. He was so coked out and he was like yelling. He didn't make any sense. They're not supposed to hang up on anybody. And it was just like, these are lovely, lovely people doing great jobs over in Oz can tell you and other people can tell you call center work is hard work and very often not rewarding. And I think we in CX and UX should partner with them and learn what they go, man, my day is full of this bullshit. I wish I didn't get 20 calls a day saying, please update my phone number. The system should update the phone number. There's so many of these things at almost every company. So that's what I would do to connect with people in the support universe. Or it could be tweets, or it could be what's going on with our app reviews. There's lots of ways to kind of, it's a little bit passive and it's a little bit reactive. So it's not, I don't love it as much as our proactive research, but we can still find out a lot of stuff. It sometimes inspires more primary research, like, oh man, it sounds like there's this, and this going on. Let's find 8 people we can go talk to and see what's cooking. So sometimes it inspires primary research, which is great, but I think it'll also help you and a product manager figure out what should be prioritized and what kinds of work teams should work on because of what is broken or making customers meet the 4 horsemen of bad UX, my registered trademark: frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. You must vanquish them. So always vanquish the 4 horsemen of bad UX before they show up and destroy our customers' happiness. Okay, I'm glad I got that question almost right. You guys don't know how much you make me guess with some of the ways you write these questions. But on that note, that means we are technically done for this time. Remember, we will be back, not tomorrow, I'm speaking at a conference, Monday with Larry. Larry, I hope you'll be there. Larry will be our special guest for the first time. That seems so wrong. He's omnipresent. And everybody, please follow Larry Marine on LinkedIn. He's not the most active dude, but when he says something, it's extremely high quality. So please follow him there, because you ought to know. In that case, I am going to sign off. I hope everybody will be well as well can be right now. Oz is going, Larry! Yes, Larry's going to be our guest on Monday, Oz, and he's given us homework. So scroll up. I've got a link to my post on LinkedIn explaining the homework. But you can sit in on Larry's podcast with us on Monday, even if you don't do the homework. It's really okay, everybody. You're going to learn something, even if you don't do the homework. Oh, spam calls. Will I ever stop getting them? Anyway, thank you again. Thanks to all the low ego action heroes for joining us today, and the usual friends of the show. So happy you checked in. And of course, won't you please subscribe, ring that bell, hit the like button, do all the things. And I'm going to play us out of here, and I guess I will catch everybody next time. Thanks for watching. Delta CX is available for consulting and projects related to CX and UX strategy, leadership, training, problem finding, problem solving, and innovation. Learn more at deltacx.com.